Hi, welcome back. Welcome if you're new. Doing something a little different today. I'm playing a game called Crystal Project. So we're gonna take a look at this game. This is a Final Fantasy inspired game. It has a lot of things that are very, very clearly Final Fantasy themed, if not almost direct ports. Sorry, I've got a airplane flying by overhead. It should stop in a moment. In the meantime, so this is the template for the party. We'll kind of go over the build and such in a moment. But what I'm trying to do is pretty much the hardest challenge in the game. And the challenge is a gauntlet in which you have to beat all of the bosses from the easiest one to the hardest one, and all the notorious monsters if you're a Final Fantasy 11 player. And you have to beat them where your life and your health and your mana carry over into the next fight. So if you sacrifice too much to win any given fight, you are not going to make it. All right, so I'll show you a little bit about my setup, but we'll talk about the build specifically in a moment. So this fight takes place in the New World. This is an area it's an optional area that you can unlock that has enemies that can one-shot level 99 characters, which is max level. So to get level 99 characters, you have to go into more options, assist options, and you have to crank the max level up. I have enhanced home points, which lets me have 3 home points instead of 1. I do not have easier non-bosses or custom difficulty. I can skip mini games. This is just 2 options to make something that I found annoying easier to deal with. And boosted EXP, LXP, and gold. These mostly don't matter at this point anymore. I mean, I could turn them down, I suppose, but I turned them up to power level myself basically as quickly as I could into endgame so that I could actually do the interesting things that endgame offers at level 99. It was a slog, but it could have been a much worse slog if these hadn't been turned up. So I just leave them turned up for you. But as you can see, my difficulty is not adjustable, and it is currently on, well, I can adjust it down, but I don't want to do that. But it's currently set to normal, so that is the way that I'm going to attempt to beat this. This is a normal difficulty challenge. So if you notice in here, there's a cabinet, countertop rather, and behind it are, 6 different characters. And the first character says, hey, which beginner boss will you train against? And it offers all these. These are all beginner level bosses that would kill your character early in the game, and then eventually you get strong enough and you can beat them. The next counter is, advanced bosses. Here you've got expert bosses. Here you've got summons. Here you've got world bosses, and finally depth bosses. Now, as far as I've ever gotten, the farthest I've ever gotten is this one. This guy is my roadblock. I've gone through Parasite X, all these guys, gotten all the way to Anubis. Cannot pass this. Do not pass go. Do not collect $100. For a number of reasons that I'll explain when we get to the fight. But the goal is to defeat Anubis. I've tweaked my build. We're going to see how it works out. Move on to Spirit Cage, beat Spirit Cage, and then finally face the depth bosses and defeat those as well. Here's hoping anyway. So it's going to be extraordinarily difficult. You can see my record is 40 victories, and if you count it out, that takes you to Anubis. In order to beat all these, you have to beat all of these monsters the first time around in order for them to appear here, and then I can heal myself to full, but I'm at full. So, all right, so we're going to give this a shot. I'll go ahead and save it. I like that, backup saves. And then I'll walk you through kind of how the party works and what the plan is, kind of as we go. All right, so here's the Battle Gauntlet. This is my 5th attempt today. So I'm hoping that I've made adjustments each time with particular thoughts in mind. These first few enemies are just, that's literally the first boss in the game, so I can just, my mages can beat it down. All right. And same for the second boss and so forth. So the linchpin to this build, basically the way this works is that my first 2 characters are effectively support characters, and my second 2 characters are damage dealers. This is my magic damage dealer, Tiziana, and my physical damage dealer is Toledo. A physical damage dealer can wipe any boss in the game off the map, but only if that boss is susceptible to physical damage, and physical damage is an option. As you can see, just a regular attack, that's just a basic attack on turn 1, dropped 12k damage, so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. And why I'm not promoting any strategy here. So the main thing is that, yeah, 11k. But we will talk build after this attempt, I promise. And you'll see a little bit about what this is doing. I'll also talk a little bit about it once I start having to make meaningful decisions, which will happen at multiple points for different reasons. This will be the first sort of somewhat meaningful decision. Now, my character is, this first character is a Weaver, and Weaver's job passive, like baked into being a Weaver, is that your first move on your turn will always be AoE, even if it's single target. So haste is a single target spell, but you see on the first turn it's an AoE spell. Or in this case, I can use Armor Break, a single target ability, and it's now multi-target. So we'll go ahead and Armor Break all of these guys and stick them with a ton of additional debuffs. Next for this character, we're going to go ahead and just Chill Blast one of these. Let's see, the one that has the most health. And then for Tiziana, we're going to, this is one of my damage dealers, we're going to go ahead and utilize her to take care of those additional monsters, and then we'll let Danita take out the troll. So we'll take out the meats with Tiziana. So the way this works is Tiziana has the Warlock body armor, which allows her to use double cast as many times as she likes. And so we are going to double cast, which costs 8 mana, and then we're going to drop a douse on this monster here, and we'll do it again, and we'll drop the douse. So what double cast does is it lets you cast 2 spells back to back, and normally you can't wish for more wishes. You can't double, god damn it, you need to really pay attention to auto targeting. You can't double cast as one of the spells. However, with the Warlock body armor, that restriction is lifted. And you can't. So this looks very inefficient and terrible if you think about it, because I've used almost half my mana on. And I'll talk about why I just did what I just did and how it worked as well in a second. So I just used half my mana on my Warlock, but the reason it's okay is that my Warlock's equipped with a sword that says 50% of physical damage that my Warlock deals is returned to the Warlock as mana. So what we're going to do is we're going to attack and deal only 946 damage, or 1580 on a crit with a 46% chance. And of that 946, 473 will be returned as mana. Super broken, basically full heal on mana, and then we're going to execute kill this guy, and we're going to continue on to the next with full mana again. So this is how we're dealing with smaller monsters on the other side, and a few other things that we have to deal with. Alright, so how does this work? Well, a little talk on it. Basically, the reason that the assassin can deal so much damage is that he's stacked a bunch of gear that has debuffs on him. Well, upsides and downsides, mixed blessing gear. And most of it's focused on, it's only one turn, the buffs that only last for one turn, but the buffs are damage multipliers. And then in addition to that, he's got on the first turn only, he has a guaranteed critical hit. So if you notice, my hit rate is 100%, my crit rate is 100%. So my 4380 gets critted and doubles to 8,000 damage. But he's got a bunch of crit multiplier stuff going, so the crit is actually tripled in damage. So that's the reason why he can hit for so much insane damage, is that his damage itself is basically double or more. For example, Bloody Slice is supposed to deal 1292, but if I target this thing, you can see it calculates out to 6830. That's quite a boost. And then when you factor in the critical hit rate of 100%, it deals 18k. Well, the ability we're going to use is not Bloody Slice. We're either going to just use a basic attack to finish this off, or we're going to use Execute. I'll use a basic attack because I don't need to bother with the Execute. So Execute, much like this armor break that I'm using here, uses AP action points, and action points start at a fixed value at the beginning of each fight. So you have very, very few of them, but they effectively replenish. This Chill Blast also uses action points. And so it's the preferred resource that we're going to use for most of these fights. So that's why we're using the Assassin specifically to get through these bosses. Now, the Assassin's ability that we're using is Coup de Grace, and what it does is it, let's see if we can, how do I can't do it. Anyway, the bottom line is attack and dex fuel this weapon skill, but it does 600 base bonus damage for every debuff on the monster, and then strips all those debuffs off. Now, my first character has a bunch of additional debuffs on hit, 2 of which are only applied 1/3 of the time. Each of them has its own 1/3 check, so 1/3 of the time the first one will apply itself, and then 1/3 of the time the second, which means that you only get them both every 1 in 9, and you get neither of them 1 in 9, and then 7 out of 9 you get either one. Anyway, but my first character has a bunch of, and then he has 4 debuffs that he applies that are guaranteed to land. 2 of them cause the enemy to take bonus damage from physical hits, which this is a physical hit. So not only does that character stacking debuffs that Coup de Grace will then strip off and convert into a damage multiplier, but the debuff effects apply on hits, so the enemy will still take the bonus damage from the physical damage. So for example, this Coup de Grace, which is supposed to, just being what it is, and the number of debuffs that are on the enemy, it's going to do 40,000 damage, then has the critical hit, which multiplies it times about 2.5, and it jumps up to 100,000 damage weapon skill. Totally insane. When you look at the health of the bad guy, look, this thing's got 7,000 health, right? So when I deal 100,000, that should give you an idea of roughly how insane this build actually is. And so you should think that basically this is what all you're going to see every round, and it is whenever possible. But unfortunately, whenever possible does not mean every turn. So what's going to happen is we're going to get through all this easy stuff, and then we're going to get to some serious stuff. I missed a debuff there, but it's not going to matter at all. All right. So my first character is designed as a setup character for the rest of the party. It's basically here to apply debuffs that increases their damage in various ways. My second character is also a setup character. It applies an additional debuff, Chilled, which causes the enemy to take more damage from ice and water. And that's a setup for Keziana's preferred nuking strategy, which is Frost and Douse, particularly Douse, because Keziana has 40% from gear, 40% damage multiplier on ice spells. So Keziana wants to nuke ice, and then in addition, it's a debuff, and Danita wants debuffs. So the second character is a setup character for characters 3 and 4 to actually deal the damage. So with this one, we get the benefit of the AoE being a Weaver. We'll just waterbend onto the weaker character and bring it into a health range where we can just safely swing and finish it off, and then we will execute the boss. We'll have less debuffs so we don't get as flashy of a number, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is getting the kill. Alright. Just keep on moving through some of these guys. And I could add, extra debuffs with Keziana if we want to push that number up. We can probably get it up to about 120,000. Maybe I'll do it just for the fun of it. I'll wait till we get a perfect hit with the first character that applies all of the debuffs, all 6 that he can potentially apply, and then we'll and then if we're not too far into the harder enemies, and I can still goof off, I'll go ahead and apply 2 extra debuffs with the red mage, and then we'll see how much damage we can do. That was 5, so we were close there. I mean, I'll do it on 5, I suppose, just to demonstrate. So we can add resist down, take more magic damage, and we can add blaze, which is burn, so it's 2 more debuffs, and then we can go ahead and execute this. So now this is 1 short of the max, and he's also more resistant monster. So even though I stacked more debuffs, I did less damage, oddly enough. All right. So this here, I probably shouldn't be goofing off like that. I'm going to need my mana in a second. So here's one of the problems. So the debuff, one of the debuffs on Danita from the damage multiplying here is that Danita cannot be healed. Any heal will actually be converted into damage on Danita. So here I am in a zone where at the beginning of your turn, you actually take damage, just like that. Now for the other characters, I can heal them later, but if Danita takes any damage at all, I cannot heal it. And I may want that health for potentially, you know, there's an opportunity where some damage might hit Danita and it won't kill her. And in a situation like that, if I've taken chip damage earlier, then that damage might kill her. So I don't want that to happen. Basically, I want to protect Danita's life total. So the trick is, I need to kill this thing before Danita gets a turn. Or I need to get that debuff off Danita before Danita gets a turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just do our usual debuffs here, and our usual debuff here. And then we're going to borrow Keziana, Warlock ability, and we're going to cast a spell. It removes a buff and a debuff. Unfortunately, we're going to remove a buff from Danita, which means damage potential is going to drop. But at least Danita doesn't take damage on the beginning of her turn, and that allows us to do the administer the coup de grace without damaging her irreparably, her life total irreparably. Alright, so here again we're going to go ahead and do the AoE debuff with some damage. We're still burning, of course, for the same reason. This is kicking in again. We're going to go ahead and nuke. What the hell was that? I swear I have my cursor set to remember what it's supposed to be doing, and I'm not paying attention. I really need to pay attention because this cannot happen later in. I don't understand what just. All right, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do my usual strategy here. We're gonna chain cast, and basically the goal here is what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill these things, hopefully, before Danita gets a turn. So that spell I mixed in there was Frost to cause it's a deep. So the 2 spells I'm using, Frost, it causes the enemy to take more damage, and then this causes me to deal more damage, and this is my nuke. It does a little bit less damage than Frost, but it costs 1 less MP as well. So, when you're chain casting, of course I can get my mana back, but I want to finish the monsters off and then get my mana back and not have to worry about it too much, basically. Alright, so again, now I can just switch over to Dispel and take the debuff off Danita, dropping Danita's max damage because I lost a buff, but that's fine, we'll finish him off. Man, that was really annoying. Now, in the next fight, we're actually no longer in the volcano. There were only 2 bosses in the volcano area, so we can now take an opportunity to heal. So we'll do that, but we're not going to... I hit Healing Spring instead of Chill Blast. So I can use Healing Spring here and just slowly start healing my team using AP instead of... I guess it worked out in that sense. And we'll go ahead and heal our mana by attacking. And we'll execute. Right. I guess it worked out, but it just caught me completely off guard. It wasn't what I intended last round. And a mistake like that on a harder boss would be a major problem. So again, we'll Healing Spring here, hitting Keziana. We're using action points instead of mana to do it, and that means that we will be back to full health for full mana next turn. So one of the major problems with this fight, of course, with this arena is the battle gauntlet, is the limited resources that you're given that you have to figure out a workaround for. So as you can see, I have a very good workaround for most of these. Most of these bosses, excuse me. Man, it's I've been doing this fight too many times. Now, if you're thinking like, well, that's not really interesting, understand that it will be soon, I promise. First of all, and second of all, these bosses are insane. Like if you look at this boss, he takes 93% less damage, right? Immune to instant kill, evades all earth abilities. Okay. On top of that, he's got multi-target, 1,000 damage, ignores 50% resistance, debuffs you with a burn that deals damage at the beginning of your turn. And this guy is one of the lower tier bosses. It gets worse from there. That alone, what I just listed, would be basically a party wipe. So what I'm getting at is that you can't let the bosses take a turn, because there's no way to tank that. Alright, now we're on the summoning bosses, and we're going to run to our first roadblock to this strategy. And we're going to solve it the same way we usually do, which is going to be Keziana. Keziana, so Danita is how we get through any boss that we can, susceptible to Danita's abilities. Keziana is how we solve things that aren't, basically. Now we're coming up on the first one, who is not dang it, what is with me? Who is not susceptible to this strategy. It's one of the summons. Sorry. Maybe I should have recorded this video in the morning or something. Alright, this boss has a counter stun that doesn't deal damage, thankfully, and only procs on physical hits. Not like that magical hit. It will proc here. And it would proc here, except just toast. Okay, armor break. Chill blast. Chill out. Stuff. Alright, this is the first boss that we actually need to use a different strategy on. So, the way this boss works is, well here, we'll take a look. At start, get a buff for 18 hits evaded Veil. Always evade physical and magical. So for the next 18 attacks on this boss are not going to connect. In the meantime, the boss also has the ability to use Doom Song, AoE death for the party in 2 turns. And a bunch of nukes and multi-target damage, a bunch of other crap. Basically, this boss can't be allowed to take a turn, but we have to hit it 18 times, plus one more, 19, because there's 1 health, to actually kill it. So how do we do that? Well, if you look under his health bar, you'll see the box for his Veil effect. And underneath that, it has a bunch of purple boxes and then a yellow box. That yellow box is where a purple box is removed to reveal a yellow box underneath when I attack. So if you watch, I'm going to attack, hit %0 because we're going to hit Veil. Purple box goes away. Now there's 2 yellow boxes exposed. So once I go through all the purples, then the yellows, then there are white boxes, and then I can kill it. And so the way we're going to do this is kind of tricky. We're going to do a double cast on Keziana. And then we're going to scan the boss, and it's the cheapest magic that I can use. And scanning is still an offensive ability, so for 2 mana, we're going to strip boxes off this guy. Well, for 8 plus 2 mana, so for 10 mana per box, we're going to strip off all of his shadows, all of his Veil. And provided we don't run out of MP, we'll get through them all. And then all we have to do is any attack, because he's at 1 health. And at that point, as long as you connect with anything that deals damage, you'll get the kill. Alright, we're down to just the white boxes now. Thank goodness for Chain Spell. This is only legal because the Warlock, if I hadn't mentioned it before, the Warlock's body armor, their AF armor, gives them this ability. Their artifact armor gives them the ability to chain cast, double cast. To chain double cast, rather, like this. Alright, box gone, and then we still have one spell left. We'll use our cheapest damage dealing spell. Alright. Or I could have just ended it and had to auto attack. But that's fine. Okay, we're back to standard fare for a little while. Tiziana's going to attack and drain mana. And we're going to execute the coup de grace. Excuse me. Alright, so we're good. This is going to get us through for a couple more fights, and then we're going to get to another thinker. We don't really have to... Oh my god, I don't know where these yawns are coming from. I really wasn't tired when I started the video. Anyway, okay, this is the next one. So this is another summoning. It's in the summoning family. We want to kill all of that before any of it can go off. The Revorbs have life transfer, revive dead at 100%. So if we kill the main boss and one of the Revorbs is alive, the main boss can be back to full, and we got to deal with that nonsense. So fortunately, our first attack will be AoE, and it's going to attack quite a few debuffs. So Believer. And then we're going to go ahead and Chill Blast the boss. So make the boss... do we want to Chill Blast the boss? The boss doesn't need any help. The boss is screwed. You know what? We're just going to make it a little bit easier to kill these other dealies. We're going to just target this single one. Alright, and then double cast for the win, because there's no way for me to really get through this otherwise. And we're going to chain nuke down each one of the orbs. If you notice, my first nuke did 1500, my second one does 2100. That's because this spell applies a magic up buff. So now that it's stuck, so now if I nuked an orb, I'd do 1182. But if I lead with Frost first, and then go into Douse, I'll do 1595. Now this one, the other one, the reason that we got higher damage on the other one is that we had hit it with the Nomad's ability, which causes it to take bonus damage from ice and from water. And so, as you'll recall, we got into the 2100s worth of damage, whereas with these we're only doing about 1600. So as you can see, the debuffs do matter quite a bit. And the main thing is we just need to have enough mana to get to these guys. Now, they do have a bleed and a poison on them, so at the beginning of their turn they would take some pretty good dot damage over time effect. So the turn would start and they'd immediately take poison and bleed, and potentially just die on the spot. But if I can just do the deed without futzing with that, and taking the chance that the dot doesn't tick high enough and kill them, then that's what I'm going to do. Alright. Chain casting our way out of... Okay, this one's a tough one. So Mind's Delusion. Mind's Delusion has Death and Provoke, and if if it gets hit, it counters any damage with death. So it can cast death, but it also counters any damage with death. It can provoke. It cannot be confused, which causes random retargeting, so you can't force it to accidentally kill his buddy. And like I said, it provokes, which insults. It causes an enemy to target you. So basically, it causes you to attack it, which will then proc the counterattack of death. So what we're gonna do is we need to one-shot that thing. So we can do that with the assassin. And then fortunately, the coyote, the main boss, does not have that ability. He just has a lot of nasty abilities. So we're gonna try to deal with this as best we can using. So now I want to do armor break, but here's the problem: if I do armor break, look what happens. I hit the Mind's Delusion, and then it counterattacks with death. So I can't do that. It's because I'm a Weaver. That yay, I'm a Weaver, I can AoE. Suddenly sucks. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to actually cast a spell first to shake that ability off, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Haste and give my whole party Haste. Or I can cast Slow and slow the enemies down. I think Slow will be the way that I go. To make it so that their turns come later in the game, and also to strip off this AoE, because the AoE is only on the first turn for the Weaver. So Slow doesn't deal damage, so this will not, this won't kill me. And then we'll Chill Blast the boss. We're going to weaken the boss. He doesn't have the counters with death ability. And then we're going to, unfortunately, I'd like to chain spell the boss down, but I don't have enough mana after the last fight. So what I'm going to do is attack and get some mana from the boss. We'll hit him with slows. That'll buy us a little bit of time. We'll go ahead and execute carefully Mind's Delusion. And that leaves us with just the boss. Okay, so now we can Water Bend, and we don't have any healing, but we can do a Water Blast. We'll cause it to take more damage. That spends our AP. And then with Keziana, who's going to get a chance to go, and then my assassins, if you look at the timeline at the bottom, my assassin goes after the boss goes, which is bad news. So that slow bought a time from my other characters to get a second round in, and Keziana's first attack refilled the mana pool. So now we're going to mix magic and do what you've already seen a few times now, and we're going to, we don't need to waste a debuff because we just hit it with the resist down, so we'll go straight into nuking with Gauss. This boss is super resistant, so we're doing just garbage damage. Remember, we were doing 2100, now we're doing 1000. And so what it's going to do is drain even more MP than usual, but fortunately we refilled. And it's crazy because this thing is double debuffed. One debuff says he takes 35% more magic damage, and the other says he takes 35% more damage from water, which is water and ice, which is what this spell is, water. On top of that, I have 40% damage buff from water, and I've buffed myself with a magic up of 35%. So he takes like 70% more damage, and I deal 70% more damage, and I'm still barely touching. That's how stout this boss is. But luckily, I have just enough MP that I can kind of brute force my way through his life total before he gets a turn, and then we can move on to the next boss, who hopefully will not require a chain cast, because I'll be out of mana. Good. Well, or damn near. I've got 50 mana on. That's not really enough. All right, good deal. Just a regular old boss. No real abilities. And we'll heal our mana back to full. Nice deal. Pretty cool. Alright. This is just another regular boss. Okay. Akamanto. Again, no specials that we're going to care about whatsoever. Good stuff. So this guy has a special ability that causes, if he gets a turn, he can choose physical or magical, and then nobody can use physical or magical depending on whatever he chose. It's pretty heinous if that goes off. Because if he hits like physical, well, no more coup de grace. If he hits magical, no more chain spelling. Fortunately though, he didn't get a turn. So, alright. We're gonna, here's another one. We're gonna chain spell this guy down and then coup de grace this one. So by nuking here, we're gonna make the coup de grace is gonna be lethal regardless. So we just want to make the double cast a little more mana efficient. So we'll go ahead and get to work. 1633, and then the next one should deal 2100, 2200. Yeah. And then if we can save 1 mana by using a blaze here, we will, but we can't, so we'll use those. Good draw. Good stuff. Okay, so now we just, this guy, fortunately, nothing special, so we just need to get a regular attack. Fuel the mana that we just burned through. Execute him. Same thing here. Conscript, not a big deal. Oh boy, I'm getting really sleepy. Okay, this is the next big fight. This is actually the showstopper for me. We're going to find out if I can get through this. So here's the problem. This guy normally appears in an area, the labyrinth, where you can only use magic, and it's a dungeon, so you end up going through it with a full like mage setup. We don't have the luxury here because we need coup de grace for most of these fights. Well, what that means is that now that I'm on this guy, I can't. You can see attack is not even an option. So battle skill, no options at all. So all I've got is magic. So what I'm going to try to do with this guy is we're going to try to get haste on the party, and we're basically we just need to figure out a way if we can kill this guy before he kills us, because what I could do is I could use quick. I'm just going to haste the party. All right. So we're going to healing spring. So this guy has multiple problems. One of the problems is that we can only use magic. 2, he has a lot of health. 3, he has maybe too much health, honestly. 3, when he dies, he does AoE 10,000 damage to the whole party. 4, he also has wall change, so that he will flip between one element and another, and when he does that, he only takes damage from the specific element that he's flipped to, and if you don't hit him with that magic, he won't flip to another element. And so you need to, if he gets on an element that's not good for us for nuking purposes, we have to get him off of it. It's going to be a little challenging. We really want to kill him before wall change kicks in, if possible. So hopefully we can chain spell our way through this, but let's go ahead and chill blast him and prep the way for Keziana, and then we're going to mix magic and attempt to double cast our way into victory. We'll go ahead and resist down on him. because the main thing is right now he doesn't have that wall up. That and so this we don't know if we would be able to even use the spells that we're using effectively if he were to bring his wall up. On the flip side, I don't know if we have enough mana to finish him off. I changed my build because the last time I fought him, I did not have enough mana, and then the fight goes sideways really quick. So I increased my mana a little bit for Tiziana for this specific setup. Look at that, slow is still trying to, that haste is still trying to go off. It's so sad. Well, we're making really good headway, but we're getting really low on mana too. I don't know if we're gonna make it. Oh, this is really, really tight. Douse. Good. Good. Remember, on the last turn, we can actually cast twice without having to hit the double cast. So we can drop 6. Oof. Okay. Well, if I do double cast for 8, that leaves me with 9 mana, 6 of which I can use for a douse. But then I'm short on what I can do after that. So alternatively, what I'd really like to do is use time magic to heal myself to full on my next turn. I can do 2k here, or I can hit him for 1,000 here and save my mana and apply a burn on him. And then who's going to kill him? Shirahime would have to kill him. I don't know if Shura is even going to get the opportunity to do that. Maybe the burn will finish him off. I'm going to try it this way. I really don't know if this is the right call. Alright, we're going to get a little faster for some of our guys. This guy can do literally nothing. Burned to 243. Okay, well, we'll hit him with slow. And then for this, I don't know. Water. Ooh! Yes! Okay, Water Blast. So we can Water Blast to kill him. His next move is going to be one of these. I have no idea which one. It's not going to be Meteorite, but it'll be one of these big nukes. So the question is, if I were to summon, I can instacast these. What I'm thinking of doing is summoning Juices to give re-raise to my party, although it will kill my... Alright, Shirahime has re-raise on, so what we're going to do is we're going to nuke, and then he's going to kill my whole party, and then we're going to re-raise, and then we're going to summon Juices on the next fight. It's going to take 2 turns to go off. But it will heal everybody to full. So what we'll do on the next fight is we'll blink to evade 2 physical attacks, I guess. And then re-raise the party. I don't know if this is going to work. I really don't. My other option is I can put re-raise on the party now. It will kill Danita because it also heals. And it'll take a couple of turns. And I have to hope he doesn't kill my party and remove the re-raise at the time. And then I have to kill him before he switches. It's very risky. I think I'm just going to go for the nuke. By sheer luck, he switched to being weak to water element. Thank goodness. So we can actually kill him now. Okay, here comes the nuke. Bang. Okay, get up. Alright, 2 of my guys have an ability that says... that if they get nuked from full, they... What just happened? I'm extraordinarily confused and very unhappy. I do not know why Shura is dead. Why is Shurihime dead? I had re-raise on. Why? I need that character. Wait, Keziana can get... Okay, alright. Let's not freak out. Keziana can get my guys up. I need to slow this guy. I don't know if this is going to work. Life is 14 mana? God. There's my MMP. Please buy me time. No. Okay. That's not bad. I can mix magic, double cast my way out of this. I think. With life. Then I can nuke down the ads. I swear, without double cast, there's just no way to. Alright, I'm gonna heal Danita while I can. Since she raises without the debuff from the gear. The gear, it applies at the beginning of the turn, and there's no beginning of the turn when you're dead. Okay. Alright. This might actually work. So I'll explain why my characters lived later. Alright, so here's the question. Well, we have to double cast. How much damage can I do to these fools? This one in particular here does not take damage very well usually. Okay, we're going to be able to kill this guy. Dude, Keziana is absolutely just as critical to this as Danita is. To be honest, more critical. Alright, debuff him. As you can see, I mean, this fight's unwinnable without Keziana. All of it. The arena is not, but I think we might actually be on. This is the last fight for the boss of this tier. Okay, so mixed magic. This boss is going to... What is he going to do? He's going to do... He has the gear over his head. What does that do? Shroomy, Leer, free action, and then a buff. I think what we're going to do is we're going to debuff this guy. A few times. This is actually going to heal him, but it's going to apply a debuff, which is more important. Alright, I could... Is there any more debuffs I can apply to him? No. I could double cast one more time and then heal, and then double heal. Yeah, that'll work. So let's get a heal off. And let's get another heal off. Okay, good. Okay, now we can armor break him, significantly debuff him, and then we can execute him. Beautiful! Okay, we got through the big hump. I've never made it this far. This is fantastic. Okay, oh god, I don't have any MP on Keziana. This is bad news. Okay. I really want to get off a summon, stun, or blink. I don't remember what these guys do. I haven't gotten this far. I mean, I fought them before, but so they have attacks, attacks, and attacks. Peacekeeper has multi-target magic and then a bunch of attacks. So it looks like all of them are going to use attacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to use blink. And if you look at the turn timer, non-existent for this. Why? The reason is that I've loaded gear on this guy that reduces casting time down to basically 0. And summons usually take like 6 to 9 turns. It's incredibly slow and terrible. but because his casting time is pushed way down, we're going to be okay. So I think the first thing we're going to do is we'll blink, since all of their attacks are going to be physical, and then this will give us a little breathing room against that. The next thing we want to do is we want to attack and get our mana back. So we'll hit. Come on, where's the middle guy? There we go. We don't need to hit the Peacekeeper because I think the knee is going to kill it. So let's just not hit one of these guys that we're going to heal. This looks good. 823. Good. Got his mana back. Okay, let's execute the main boss. Great. Now we have to deal with these cats. But alright, so I can't do AoE against him anymore. What I could do is I could cast haste on Keziana, perhaps. But it's 5 turns to cast. Like, it's so stupidly slow. I needed more fast cast gear on this guy. Like, what was I doing with this incredibly slow cast time? Anyway, we're just going to, I guess, deal some damage. This is probably the way to go. Yeah. Okay, we'll just deal some damage. Alright, did you see how that thing took 800 damage? That's 2 dots kicking in. Alright, Shira has Healing Spring. Could start healing us up using spells. Or could Chill Blast to try to deal some more damage. What would make the most sense? I really do want to, or I could summon. So if I do summons, some of my fast cast has been burnt, but I could do, so that would hurt some of them, heal one of them. Take more fire, instant kill. Can these things be instant killed? Ooh, they're not immune to instant death. Okay, so let's chill. Yeah, let's summon and do ice damage. Next instance of ice damage results in instant kill. I gotta be careful though, because if I do this, I'm burning through mana like absolutely crazy fast. Maybe that's not a good idea now that I think about it. I think what I'm actually going to do is just let's top off Decite. Yeah. And then for Keziana, let's go ahead and get to work with some double casting. Okay, you I can't kill. You I can. Okay. Basically, the trick with these guys is there's one element. It's different for each of them, but there's one element that they absorb rather than. Okay. Rather than take damage from, so you just have to pay attention to whether or not it's white text or blue text. Because if it's, green text or white text. If it's green, green means stop, actually. If it's green, you're going to heal them. Alright, almost done. The dots should finish that one off. Alright, him I'd heal. Him I won't heal with this. And then Douse, yeah, Douse will not heal him either, so that's good. Alright, dots may finish him off, but I actually want to stop here because what I really would like to do is I want to hit one of these with Keziana and get my mana back before I move on to the next fight, because I don't know if I'll have time to nuke. So we'll go ahead and finish this guy off. We have guaranteed miss. The dot finishes him off. We'll just skip. We will power break this guy, buff him a little bit further, and for this guy we need to heal anybody. Looks like we're topped off, so we'll go ahead and skip, and then we'll attack, get our mana back. Very good, and then we'll just execute. Okay, we're back. We get to move on to the next fight. That is one of this is the final round of bosses. The old one. Nothing crazy, will kill us if he gets a turn, basically. Not going to get a turn. Alright, debuff him. So I guess I could have got my magic back. I could debuff him here just to play it safe, but I'm pretty confident that the assassin's going to execute him, no problem. Like, I could add an extra debuff with Keziana, but we're good. Okay, the Devourer also has like this just absolute insane, if I recall, he does Churn the Waters, yeah. Multi-target, Mind debuffs you, take 150% more damage, and dot also. Completely insane, but we'll deal with him as we do all things when we can. And the answer will be, oh shit. Die. That's what I meant about incidental damage. Okay, so that dot should fall off for the next round. Okay, the Enforcer. Buffs do not expire, debuffs do not expire, evades all earth, inflicts weakness. And then he's got a bunch of, you can sleep, multi-target sleep, yeah, that's brutal. Okay. Gotta pay attention to that timer, that turn timer. I wasn't watching. Alright, I think we can kill him though, and I need to heal whenever possible. So we'll go ahead and get people topped off here. Okay, I can't heal Danita, as I mentioned, unless Danita dies. I'm not going to kill my character just to heal my character. Okay, Gabriel. Nothing special, very good. Nice chill blast. Let's get our mana back, and execute. What? What? The freaking crap? Okay, I would like to heal, but I'm going to debuff because I'm not sure if I can kill this thing. I could nuke, but I mean, why did I miss? Let's hit him with another debuff. Hit 99%, that's why I missed. 1 in 100. That isn't just insane. Almost lost the run because of that. What could have. These things can easily wipe you. Alright, nothing special. His next move is going to be always evade magic, or if it take half damage from physical, but we're gonna, provided we don't freaking miss, we're gonna let's heal our mana. Dude, if the red mage can hit it at 98%, come on, guy. We're just not giving him a turn. We did it. We did it. Yes. That is awesome. That is super awesome. No, I do not want to begin the gauntlet. I can't believe that there's no prize for this. Yeah, heal me. Wow. I took insane levels of theory crafting. I have tried this for days, and I have worked through countless failures. I am so pumped. We actually got the win. Almost lost it at the end there on a couple of spots. That is fantastic. I don't know, to be honest, if anyone... I've never seen anyone else get the win, so I'm going to post this video and link it into the chat, like into the Steam discussion board for the game, and we'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the build. I kind of owe you that at the end here. I'm going to first save my game just in case there's anything special for that. I'm sad that that's not a thing. That's disappointing. Anyway, all right, let's take a look. So here's the deal. You saw how the fights actually go. So how did I make it work? Well, okay. So Decite, the Weaver, uses the Boomer Sword, which has on hit, inflict debuff for 2 turns, rend, defense minus 10%. A Pointy Hat, which reduces accuracy to basically nothing, and causes me to spend more MP, but causes debuffs that I apply to have an additional turn. So this would be rend for 3 turns. Weaver Robe, turn timer at battle start minus 20, combines with the first strike mitt, turn timer at battle start minus 40 from minus 60. And when you have a minus turn timer, it goes in order of lowest turn timer to highest. And so in this case, if they're tied, then there are other factors that come into play. But in this case, minus 60 means DCT always goes first, as you saw. And then the other thing about the Weaver Robe that's super, super important is never miss physical attacks. This does not work without that. And then finally, the Poison Talon, on hit, inflict debuff for 1 turn, make it 2. Poison, which causes me to deal a little extra damage, and then crit chance. Alright, so that's the setup for, that's why I was stacking so many debuffs, but on top of that, it's my passives. Adrenaline gives me 6 action points at the beginning of the, not on the beginning of the turn, but at the beginning of the fight, which is how I was able to use the Warrior sub's debuff of Armor Break, which causes the enemy to take 35% more physical damage, as you can see here. In the meantime, equip sword, so that's why my Weaver can use the Boomer Sword. Learning, which costs 0 points and just allows you to learn Scholar Magic that you don't know. Actually, all my characters know all the Scholar spells, so I probably don't need to keep it equipped, but I just do it for the because it's free. Stalwart, which is the key that allowed me to win the Anubis fight. So once per battle, survive a killing blow with at least 1 HP when damaged from full. We nuked him down to 0 and then survived because of Stalwart. I should have put Stalwart on this character. That was a huge mistake. So I'm going to do that now so that you get to see what the correct build should have looked like. And then I'm going to also equip this character with basically I can at this point almost anything for the cost of 1 would make reasonable sense. Receive an additional 10% of any healing given seems to make sense, so that the character will heal others. When he heals others, he heals himself, but this character isn't doing any actual healing, so that's not great. Used when critically damaged, Pocket Sand, Blind is probably a good choice, so we'll just take that. And Selfless Cure would be good if I was actually casting cures. Fury's good if I was going to use a regular attack on this character, which you saw I never did. So the correct answer here is going to be Pocket Sand, so we'll just have a blind effect. Alright, but let's go back here. That actually wraps up this character. Adrenaline for the 6 AP, Equip Sword, Stalwart, Equip Sword self-explanatory, Stalwart, so that when you take a nuke when you get 1 shot, instead of getting 1 shot, you stay alive at 1 health. Blood Spiller, which is an additional effect on hit that's a debuff, and that's what gives me the bleed. And then for 3 points, I also have Crippling Coat, and this is the one where I said it attempts to apply 2 debuffs. One is Fatigue and one is Daze. Each one has a 1 in 3 chance, roughly. of applying, and it doesn't matter what they do. What matters is that we apply debuffs. But it does actually. Daze is the one that's mostly useful because it causes the enemy to have double the casting time on their abilities, which may mean that you have more time to respond, but it doesn't always proc. So that just is to give it's equipped just to potentially give some extra damage to the assassin, and also because we like Daze. The assassin, unfortunately, is the only one who doesn't have spare points for Stalwart. Alright, so for the Nomad Shirahime, the trick is summon spells take absolutely forever to cast. If you take a look, yeah, casting time 80 seconds or whatever. It's just insane. So what we did was first of all, I'm a Nomad. Abilities deal a percent more damage, where X is equal to 1.5 times the ability's AP cost. So what that means is that when I'm hitting them with the Nomad's Chill Blast, the AP cost is multiplying the damage a little bit. So I was getting a little bit of free damage in there. The reason I was using Chill Blast is because it does debuff of Chilled that causes the thing to take more ice and water damage, as you saw. Or I was using Water Blast, which is when I didn't have mana for Chill Blast, or I didn't have a need for it. It does more damage, sort of, because it also it costs less AP, which means I don't get as high of a multiplier, but hits it with resist down, which causes it to take more magic damage. So, you know, it's nice when you can hit it with Chill Blast and then follow up with Water Blast. And Chill Blast makes the Water Blast deal more damage because it's water. Most of the other abilities don't matter here. We never used them ever, and we wouldn't. They're cool, they're neat, but they're useless. Then lastly, there's the one other ability that the character has, which is it the first one? Yeah, Healing Spring, which is how it's water-based healing. That's how we were able to recover from using action points instead of mana points in the cases where we wanted to conserve MP. So, and then we're subbing Summoner, and the reason we're subbing Summoner is Summoner gives us access to a few utility power abilities. They're very slow to cast, and we'll talk about why I was able to do that in a second, but also it gives you access to every element. And so if Anubis was to have survived and changed to an element that I couldn't damage any other way, I would still have a summon that could nuke him one last time and potentially finish the fight off. So that was the reason for that. Alright, in the main hand I've got Baton. It gives me Mind. Mind is like intelligence in other games, so it's magic damage. And abilities cost 50% less casting time. That's the reason we're equipping it. There are wands like this that have 100 mind on them, and other wands like this that have 10 mind but give you a max, a bonus to magical damage and stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff. Even this Mage's Pike, which gives you MP and 20% less casting time and a massive buff and a good weapon. But I went with the full 50% less casting time because I needed it as low as I could get it. For my weapons, since most of I could use like a shield to increase my damage here, or like reflect and hope that Anubis nukes single target this guy and it bounced back and he's weak to it, but that's kind of a bit of a stretch. But yeah, I could have picked up a shield for some extra damage, but most of the damage we're actually doing would have been with the summons, other than, the initial water bend. So we're less worried about damage and more worried about having 2 turns of re-raise on this guy in case something went wrong. Or if we could kill Anubis before the re-raise expired, that's yet another way that we could potentially, get up. But even when we move into the next fight where everyone's at 1 health, having a re-raise at the start of the fight from 1 health is pretty good when you can re-raise on this guy and then get up and then use a summon and cast Juices, which is AoE, recovery to full, and re-raise. And it works on dead things. So AoE, raise, recovery to full, and re-raise. So the idea is that this guy gets up and then basically with the Stalwart, Anubis would nuke him all the way down to 1. Of course, in the last fight you saw him die because I screwed up and I didn't have this equipped. But he would nuke him all the way down to 1, and then he would go into the next fight against the next guy, and then he would have re-raise applied because it would be starting a fight. So it's at battle start. He'd have 2 turns of re-raise. He'd be at 1 health. Stalwart only works when you're at full health, so that wouldn't save him. But the re-raise would, and then he could cast the summon that would heal everybody to full and get them back on their feet. And so that was the actual game plan with why this combo. So abilities cost 50%. So casting time is what matters here, because if Anubis kills me before I can finish casting, then that whole plan falls apart. So abilities cost 50% less casting time. I picked Celestial Crown. All attributes plus 10 includes speed, which means faster turn timer. And, mana. I mean, it's all attributes. It's health, it's mana, it's speed. It's not the best item by any means. A specialized item is better. However, and I suppose I could have gone with the Regen Crown so that against it, moving into the fight after Anubis, he would just start regenning and perhaps like survive a hit. Highly unlikely though. I could have given him Spell Lifesteal, or maybe like improved healing or whatever, but none of these really stood out to me. I felt that the Celestial Crown giving him 10 extra speed meant that he might get to go before Anubis could kill him, and that's why I went with the Crown. Summoner Robe, interestingly enough, is all abilities cost 25% less casting time, and then you get 60 Mind and Spirit. So you get 60 magic offense for mind-based abilities, better healing, better magic defense. That's all Spirit. And then, Spirit is magic defense, healing, and certain abilities that happen to use Spirit, either alongside Mind or instead of Mind. And then Mind is like intelligence in other games. It's basically your nuking power. It's your penetration through magic defense, and it's a direct multiplier in some things. As a summoner, it's not really super useful. But in the water bending side, it does use Mind here and here. And then up here you can see this uses Spirit for healing. So being able to pick this up on the road means that my water bending is a little bit better, but my abilities, casting time minus 25% stacking with the 50 at 75% means that we might actually be able to get a summon off. I have 2 Gusto Fangs because I need 8 AP. I need 6 at battle start actually, but there's nothing that I can equip that'll give me 6, so I have to use 2 of these to get 4 and 4. So that I can use my water bending, and then as it turns out, the extra AP carries over, and that's the reason why I was able to do a water bend of 12 for 12 AP right away, and then follow it up with a water bend for 8 AP, and I never actually attacked. Action points are normally generated by attacking with your weapon, but I started with enough here that I was able to bypass that for like 2 turns, which is all I really needed, right? For passives, I've got Pocket Sand, as you saw, and Stalwart. Then Equip Wand, which is so that I can get the fast cast, the 50% less casting time. And then Fast Cast itself. So Fast Cast gives you another 35% casting time reduction right there. And then finally Preemptive, which gives you turn timer minus 50 at battle start. You notice he was going second. So this guy's got First Strike Mitt minus 40 and Weaver Robe minus 60. This guy's got Preemptive, which gives him minus 50. That's why Shirahime, the support character, was always going second and applying the support debuffs before the my actual damage dealers got a turn. And then if you figure out that I have minus 50, minus 25 is 75, and then minus 35% from Fast Cast, my abilities actually cost no casting time, and that's why you saw just lines there, and I could just insta-cast my summons, which is critical to having an option. Basically, it's critical, or like you're not going to win, right? Like if my summons take too long, I can't get everyone on their feet because this character will die. Especially when I'm at 1 health. So it's critical to my strategy to have all that fast cast stacked up to 100%. All right, so next, the Warlock. Freaking Warlock, unwinnable without the Warlock in this exact specific scenario. I still don't know if Time Magic is the best sub for this Warlock. It probably is not. The idea was that I wanted from the Weaver What I wanted was this spell here. Rewind. So MP 12, casting time 20, self only, rewinds hit points, magic points, AP, and status to previous turn values. What I found was that for some reason, the idea was I wanted to chain spell all the way down, and then that's a spell, and I wanted to stop with 12 mana and on Anubis, and then when my next turn started, I would cast that, and I would get all my mana back from, the chain spelling. But the last time I tried it, something went wrong, and I went from 12 mana to 0. It didn't work. And I was very perplexed and extremely unhappy, and it ended my run. So I left the sub. I was looking to try to figure out this run what caused that, but I don't know. You can test it and see if there's some kind of bug between chain spelling and time magic or what, but it just didn't work. So with that in mind, you could actually change his sub job, not be time magic, and set it to something that, for example, we can cast a warlock can already cast can already hit with fire, water, and ice, right, against Anubis. So you might give him a sub of like earth and wind, which you can pick up from. I think Dervish has earth and wind. Yeah, right here, earth and wind, and they come with some debuffs too. And so what you could do is you could equip you could use Quakesand and Tornado when Anubis sets himself up so that he's not going to take damage from your 3 main nukes when he switches elements. The problem with this plan is that assumes you have the mana to do it, which, as you saw, you run out of mana. What do? I don't know what the answer is. It's possible. The other possibility is if time magic's not going to work, what we could switch to is Beatsmith, and then that gives you this ability. It's a multi-target. It's an AoE MP restore that auto repeat. It locks you in, but it heals 17 MP to the party every turn. And so what we could have done potentially is sub Beatsmith, got all the way down to 8 magic, and then on my next turn started AoE MP heals. I honestly just really don't know what the answer is, but other than just try to win and hope everything works out. It might take a few tries. All right, but anyway, with the build, the weapon that makes this run much less of a pain in the ass is Soulkeeper. It gives us Mind and Spirit, which we both want. It gives us a massive MP penalty, which we do not want. When I say massive, if you look, it's actually 120 because of the MP percentage boosters. Flat values are applied first, and then they get boosted. So this is actually 120 MP we don't get. But it gives us physical MP absorbed, so when we attack, as you saw, we heal all of our MP back. And that right there makes this worth using. Despite the fact that we could get like a much better weapon or like deal more damage, or we could use like Mage's Pike and get fast cast, and look at this, we get 183 max MP and a buff that deals more damage on turn 1. But how are we going to get that MP back later if this time magic trick doesn't work? Well, Soulkeeper is the only way. So anyway, Nomad's Guard, we're using it for the 20% more water damage, which, as you saw, is very relevant. Pact Crown is nerfing our hit points at the expense of 20% mind, but if I go here, as you can see, it's costing us 525 hit points to equip, but 76 mind being our primary damage dealing, so 76, that's a ton. We're not going to take this off. Warlock Mail, this is how we got to do double cast. Comes with a nerf, max MP down, which made this fight almost impossible. Thankfully, we just barely eked by. We're using Stone of Jordan, which gives us physical attacks gain thunder and I deal 10% more thunder, which means my physical attacks deal 10% more damage. And that's the reason why you saw in the fight against the stalks, the underwater creature, where some of the stalks, each one of them absorbed a different element. I targeted one of them and it said it was green text. It was because the Stone of Jordan was giving me thunder element on my attacks, and that was the one that particularly absorbed thunder. But against non-enemies like that, This thing has two reasons for being equipped. One, let's look at how much MP it's giving us. 43. That's a lot. Just barely enough to get us, over the hump when we're dealing damage. But also, in addition, we can just our physical attacks can, since they deal basically 10% more damage, it means that we're going to get 5% more mana back on hit, which, we just want to make sure that we get topped off every time. We don't want to have to swing twice, right? And then finally, the Nomad's Emblem comes with Mind, which is great. Basic attacks deal 15% more damage and healing, so now we're doing 25% bonus damage when we attack, so a respectable amount, and deal 20% more water damage, so this one's fantastic for us, not replaceable. This one is potentially replaceable. You could use Kitsune Mask, and you would lose like 4 MP, as you can see, or you could use Gandalf's Ring and get 31 Mind at the cost of 43 MP, and hope that the additional nuking power makes up for the loss of magic power, or you could use Snow Pendant and nuke ice, but we don't want that because we want to, I get 25% more damage on the one ice nuke that we use the one time. But I don't think that that's going to be as good as the actual mana, so we'll just use this. There's nothing else, unfortunately, that increases water damage, or we would use it, and there's nothing else that increases mana greater than the Stone of Jordan for this particular setup, or we would use it. Passives are Equipped Sword. Warlock can use Rapiers by default, and there's actually fantastic Rapier for Warlock, but where is it? Yeah, this one. But it doesn't matter. We need to use the Soulkeeper Sword, so we have to use Equipped Sword as one of our passives. Inner Warmth, again, so this is any 10% of any healing we do to others is returned to us. So if we're all weak and use the Warlock to chain heal, he's healing himself at the same time as he's healing others. Stalwart, so we don't get one shot. MP Boost, because we need max MP. We don't need MP recovery. We do that with a sword. What we need is to make the tank as full as we possibly can. And if I take it off, look, I'm at 214. If I put it on, I'm at 256. So very important to get that extra 40 mana there. And then finally, we have Preemptive, which drops our delay by 50, just like this one, which means that we should be going at the same time. So what we actually do is we equip Preemptive, and then to prevent half the time we go before we want to, we also equip Delay 20, which says turn timer at battle start plus 20. It costs no points to equip because it's a nerf to your speed. But what it means is that this guy goes neg 60, neg 50, neg 30, so that we always go in that order, which means this guy can apply the Waterbend debuff for this guy to take advantage of, and it always goes in the correct order. So that's the reason we do that. And finally, the Mr. Coup de Grace, or Miss Coup de Grace herself, Danita, is a Mimic, and the reason Danita is a Mimic is so that she can equip this one weapon. If not, we could this one armor. This may not be necessary. This might be completely unimportant. But basically, the Mimic's ability is that the Mimic gets the passives and abilities of your sub-job, and the job passive too. So like the job passive for Time Magic, Warlock doesn't get. It gets just access to the spell list and ability list. The Mimic gets access to spell and ability list of the Assassin, which is his passive, but also gets the Assassin's passive ability. And the Assassin's passive ability is critical. It's just insane. Let me see if I can... we need to find a crystal. Okay. There we go. And we'll take a look at what the Assassin's ability is. Alright, the Assassin's ability is deal 100% more physical damage if the target would be killed. So this is part of the reason we're getting the insane numbers. What this effectively means is that if you can deal half of the target's damage in one hit, Assassination will take it up the rest of the way. It will double that damage and cause that to be a lethal. And that's how we were getting those 100,000 damage hits, because they were really 50,000 damage hits that were lethal, and therefore we're getting doubled to 100,000. Now, here's the trick. Let's say the 50,000 damage fell short. Well, that's okay, because as long as the 100,000 would kill it, the Assassination trait will double your damage to ensure that your hit does kill it. And so that's why Assassin is, you must either be a Mimic or an Assassin for this to work. Now, Mimics, other abilities, so all the Mimic abilities suck. They're completely useless. So they're just trash. We just ignore all those. And then the other ability, though, that Mimic gets is the ability to equip any weapon in armor. And so what that means is we can mix and match to buff our Assassin with gear that's going to cause them to deal peak performance. And we're not restricted having to play games with, well, I wish I could use that, but it's medium armor and I can only use light armor or whatever. So, so with that in mind, we're using the Legend Spike, which has a crit damage, a high attack, a crit damage multiplier, a strength bonus, which means we pierce through defense, which we ignore some of the enemy's defense to deal more damage, and then a crit damage bonus that gets stuck into the multiplication and then multiplied up to extra damage. This weapon actually could be the Diamond Dagger. It's probably the next best weapon. It actually has 20 more base damage and 2% more crit multiplier, but that crit multiplier is then offset by the fact that the Legend Spike has the 2% defense pierce. So those two things like roughly balance out, I think. But it doesn't have the crit damage bonus of 94. So you get 20 more attack, but you lose 94 crit damage bonus, which gets added to your attack basically and then multiplied up. So my attack is actually 374 with the Legend Spike, not 300 like the Diamond Dagger. It's just secretly 374 basically. So the Legend Spike actually does more damage. You can test it yourself. In the main hand is what we're using. In the offhand, we're using the Vanguard because it has attack plus 5%. No other reason. We just, if I take this off, you can see it's picking up 14 extra attack, and any attack matters. There's nothing else. There's nothing that gives like dex. There is the Dueling Shield, which would give you counter on physical hits, and that is a nice weapon to have. But we're not intending for the enemy to get a turn, so we're just going to use the Vanguard. We're using heavy armor here, the Cross Helm. So if we couldn't use heavy armor, we would use most likely the Captain's Hat. Pick up attack and dex. Attack 18, dex 10 looks really good. I think it's probably the best choice. Yeah, it's probably the best choice. Or we could potentially use the Battle Band, attack 18, crit damage bonus plus 20. I'd have to, test them to see which one's better. I suspect this one is because of dex is a multiplier on the weapon skill itself. So we would probably use that, but here on the first turn, we get a buff that says deal 35% more physical damage. So it becomes a multiplier on turn 1 only. And as you notice, most fights ended on turn 1. So that's the reason we're using the Cross Helm to try to one-shot things on turn 1. And if we weren't doing this, I think that when we got to the fights where we couldn't afford to debuff our target, for example, when we had there were the 2 deep bosses, one of them counterattacks with death. We needed to one-shot that one and then chain spell down the other boss, and we could not debuff the other one like directly. We had to use like slow and stuff. We couldn't use our normal debuffing methods because he would counterattack with death. And so having this extra bonus to ensure that on that first turn we actually kill the boss is pretty important, I think. So this is probably the way to go. But if you think that it's not, or if you can get more value out of the Captain's Hat, then potentially, like especially if you're dying and re-raising and then using this guy, you won't have this buff. Then we should actually be Assassin main and then sub Warrior, and then we can or something else that would potentially give us access to more abilities. Like maybe we could go Assassin main and then just sub like one of the mage ability, like something to give us re-raise, like Valkyrie, and then that way when we got to Anubis, we would be able to use magic we could cast just to get re-raise on this guy, and then do the fight or whatever, or maybe give him access to some kind of nuke. Now, ideally, we would be an assassin main and a ninja sub, and what we would do is we would use ninja magic to deal 65. Sorry, to deal where is it? 65% more water damage to the enemy. We debuff him with this sucker, and then our red mage would easily chain spell him down. But the problem is, this is not in Final Fantasy XI, where you have ninjas that use scrolls to cast spells, including Utsusemi and all the other stuff. Those in Final Fantasy XI, those are spells. In this game, they're abilities, and it's a huge nerf to ninja, and it makes a job that's super interesting completely worthless, because the one fight where you actually need this, you can't even use it, which is against Anubis. So that's the reason we're not using that. Also, it's removed by damage, which also basically makes it useless, because it would increase the damage for one hit, but that's it. This spell would be much better. The way it needs to be changed, it needs to be a spell, and it should be inflict debuff for one turn, and that removed by damage line needs to just go. But unfortunately, that's not the game we're playing, so we'll go with the Mimic Execute strategy. All right, as Mimic Assassin strategy rather than the Assassin Ninja strategy. All right, so Cross Helm, Assassin's Cloak. This is irreplaceable, Dex plus 50%. That is 169 dex. There's just, I don't know what to say about this. This is irreplaceably insane weapon. It's funny enough. It's the Assassin's Cloak, right? So it is I believe, not. Let me take a look. Yeah, the Assassin's Vest is actually the Assassin's armor. The Assassin's Cloak is in reality the Assassin's armor, but the Assassin's Cloak, all these job specific weapons or armors you get. I don't know why there's an Assassin's Vest and the Assassin's Cloak, but all these job specific armors, with the exception of this Rex Vest, which is not job specific. This is a notorious monster drop, but all these job specific ones, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops to obtain them, and they're supposed to enhance your job. But man, the Assassin's Vest is trash. So maybe that's why the Assassin's Cloak's in the game too. Maybe that's the apology for it. Anyway, finally we have Bone Trophy and Undead Ring. So these two different buffs, therefore they stack, that cause you to deal 35% more physical and take 35% less physical. So 70% more physical damage here, just wearing these two items. One of them, however, comes with a nasty drawback, which means that you're undead, and now healing kills you. That's why I couldn't heal the ninja unless he died and lost the debuff, or we dispelled it somehow. Anyway, finally for passives, it's Adrenaline. We need to be able to use our weapon skill right away. Backstabber, deal 20% more physical damage if the target's a bottom threat. That's why he goes last. Well, we want to apply all the debuffs, do all the things we're going to do, and increase the threat level for everybody else. And then, when it's his turn, he'll deal 20% more damage as a multiplier. And then learning, because, whatever. And finally, Duel Ready, which says that at start, get buff for one crit. So you have this buff, and it just stays there until you crit one time. And it says the next attack is guaranteed to be a critical hit, which means he has a 100% critical hit rate on that first attack, which is why you kept seeing crit 100%. That was the reason for it. So that is the way that this guy works, and you just got to see everything. Now, as far as there's two other things I guess to be aware of when it comes to the build. Let me heal first, because I took off gear from XMP, and then we're going to teleport out of here, and we're going to go to Gaia's. We're going to use the Gaia Stone. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our Kintar and take a nice ride down here, and we're going to check out, I believe this is the growth change facility. Yeah, okay. So here's our growth setups for our characters. All right, Deicite is a 99 summoner. Very simple. This gives the most mind and spirit and MP, and that's what we were looking for on this guy. because this guy has no refresh, and we wanted to use our MP whenever we wanted to, and only when we wanted to. This character probably should not have that. This character probably should be full on. Probably it would have made more sense to cap out this character's speed. There we go, Beatsmith. Because I didn't really notice that we ran out of. I didn't really notice that we were running out of MP, or that the mind and spirit mattered at all. But maxing our speed and health, if you notice, look, we're going to get a ton of health and a ton of speed, means that we, and as well as the strength and the dex, I mean, we can actually deal more damage with this setup. But it means that we're going to be much more durable, and I don't think that health matters at all. And the speed definitely does, though. If you look at, if we want to take a peek at his turn timer, we can use Fursuit. Look at his turn time, 49 seconds. Fursuit would drop it to 48. Look at the turn timer on this guy. 66 seconds, 65 seconds, 58 seconds, 49 seconds. Totally nuts, right? So this would have been a great one, because there's a good chance that we could have cast and then had it loop back around to our turn again, or like take a turn, have it come back to his turn again before the boss is even moved. And then he would be able to use his battle skill armor break and his battle skill power break and stack additional debuffs on the boss before Danita even gets a turn, because he's so freaking fast. So that would have been probably a better setup for this guy. So I recommend you use that setup. For the rest, for Shirahime, we absolutely want to be a, what are we, a 99 summoner? Yeah. We want to be a 99 summoner for sure. You want all the MP you can muster, and the mind and the spirit will help as well with some of the abilities. But remember, we've got things that are punishing our MP on Shirahime. I believe. Oh, well, no. But summons. Summons just cost a boatload of mana, and 80, 90 per cast. And we do not want to be running out of mana. So we just go full summoner with Shirahime. And then with Keziana, we also go full summoner, but for a completely different reason. And that's because, well, we want the mind and the spirit. Mind for our healing on Warlock. Mind for our nuking on Warlock, and spirit for our healing. It's a 4-star mind, so it's enough that we're not losing out too badly on our damage when it comes to our nukes. But it has max MP, 5 stars. And so any other setup would cost us far too much mana, and we are just like doing everything we can to squeeze out every bit of mana, because we have all this mana punishment from the Warlock Nail and the Soulkeeper Sword, and we really need it. So absolutely have to be summoner sub here. This one you could tweak it if you like, but it seemed to work for me. This one I definitely had the wrong sub. It's fixed now. And then finally Danita. So for my assassin, my sub job is assassin. My job growth is assassin. I'm at level 99 assassin, and the reason is I want dex all the way up to the max, and I want speed up, and strength as well. But mainly, we want dex, a little bit of agility and whatnot. Purely because the dex is getting multiplied by Aegir, and if you look, just to get an idea, nobody has. This guy has 459 mind, 448 mind. I don't know, nothing stellar about him at all. But this guy has 507 dex. Like, just blows away, as far as his primary stat goes, just blows away the rest, and that's fantastic. And if you want to see what the passive does for what the weapon skill does for assassin. Here, you can actually, there's a button you can push. So there's the formula. So damage, attack, plus attack times 1/2 dex, plus 1/2 dex. And then on the bonus hits, you get 100 plus your dex, which means that the bonus, 607, is a 1-to-1 from dex on top of the regular damage. And what that means is that for every debuff, that 607, so like that guy that had 5 debuffs, that's now 3,000 bonus damage that then gets multiplied by all the crazy multipliers. So Dex is just critical for this guy, and so it's really easy. Just go 99 Assassin, 99 Summoner, 99 Summoner, 99 Beatsmith. Sorry, what is he? 99 Beatsmith, yeah. 99 Beatsmith, Summoner, and Assassin. And that's it. That's it. Finally, I guess gender. You can go into the gender swapping dude, and you want to change them all to female. I believe all my characters are female because we want to take advantage of the fact that they have more agility, which means reduced turn timer. But let's double check. All right, let's check. So yeah, female, 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 female. Yeah, and if you look, male, it gives you health, spirit, and luck. Female gives you max MP, agility, and speed, which is turn timer. So max MP and speed, much better than spirit and luck. Nothing gives you mind, nothing gives you strength, nothing gives you dex. So yeah, just max MP basically for all of them, and speed. So all female. And that is, I think, everything. We'll go into the red. We'll go into the red door in and heal up, save it, and call it good. And this way, I can save my template. So we will go ahead and save the Assassinate template with this new setup, which I like even better than before. I feel like I would have done even better had I made that slight adjustment. So hopefully things are looking pretty good. But that is all I've got. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Possibly world's first when it comes to recording this. I don't know. But at any rate, definitely a first for me. So if you made it through all this, hopefully you can give me a like, and a subscribe, and a comment. Although I mostly do Magic the Gathering, so if this is a channel for you where you like to see occasionally different video games and primarily Magic the Gathering focused videos, then you might like to subscribe, and if not, well, thank you for watching this video, and see you next time.